in addition to Otis. Behind him, Daniel Chatham, a new arrival to the show. He's on the executive committee of the Shelby County Republican Party. Daniel, nice to have you here. And of course, Reverend Ken Whalum with the new Olivet Worship Center. We're glad you're here too, Ken, because you and Otis are going to have it out. I'm convinced, even though you guys have been getting along way too well. But we bring up school vouchers, and that's a different topic altogether. We had a Supreme Court ruling this week that basically, as I said in the introduction there, affirmed the legality of the school voucher program. That's a pet project of Governor Bill Lee. We know it's been controversial. It's even spawned an FBI investigation into some of the arm twisting that was done to get it passed, but nonetheless, it looks like we're on our way to a program that would provide $7,500 taxpayer dollars per pupil to spend on private school tuition. So Otis, let's first talk about the legal case. The case that the opponents made before the Supreme Court was you can't have a law that applies to just 2 counties. That's unconstitutional in a state that has 95 counties. Right. Your thoughts on that?
Well, with all due respect, and to put it succinctly, Richard, I think the Supreme Court got it wrong here. There is such a thing as home rule in this state, and you cannot carve out public schools as an exception to this home rule where if you're going to pass a law, it has to apply to all 95 counties. I just think the Supreme Court is wrong on that. You know, it was a very close decision, 3-2.
But on that legal argument about a law that only applies to 2 counties, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, we know that in the case before the Court of Appeals, that argument was made. That argument was strenuously made. And in fact, it was persuasive with the appeals court. But the Tennessee Supreme Court, which happens to be higher than the appeals court, decided that that argument was not a legal winner. I don't think we can get hung up on whether, Otis, it was political, legal, because all of it is political. All of it is political when it comes down to it. I just think it is the best thing to ever happen for parents in Shelby County and Davidson County. Why? Because we happen to be the largest counties with the largest poor populations and the largest black populations and the largest populations of children who are not being educated. Richard, it's time now for the parents to have the choice. I don't know how much time we have on this segment, but I want to really talk about the school board's reaction to it. But go ahead.
All right, let's put this, bring that into the mix too, and I'll let Daniel talk about it first. The Memphis Shelby County School District was very strong in its response. They put out a statement saying the Tennessee Supreme Court ruling is an alarming assault, all caps, on public education. It's an assault, all caps, on the authority of local taxpayers and governing bodies and whose resources are allocated to historically underfunded public institutions. It's an assault, all caps, on our community. Strong words. What are your thoughts, Mr. Chatham?
Yeah, if we come up with a topic designed to get people riled up, I mean, anything to do with your kids and their education is going to do it. I think, first of all, public school is incredibly important for our community. I went to Tennessee public schools, kindergarten through med school. My 3 little boys go to public school. So while that's incredibly important, we can still think that parents should have a choice about where their kids go to school. I mean, like many folks, we chose our neighborhood and our home based on the school system there. We were blessed to be financially able to do that, and a lot of Memphis families aren't. And it's just hard for me to look them in the eye and say, hey, because your financial situation doesn't allow you to move, you're stuck with what you've got. You know, this is a pilot program, like Otis said, and the goal is to give poor families in Memphis options with their education. You know, many of these families are looking at schools that have been underperforming for years. And there's a lot of reasons that go into that, and there's no simple answer on how to fix it. And in response to the Shelby County School Board, I think we're often given this false choice of you either have to be for public schools or for vouchers, and you can't be for both, when in reality, it's going to be an all of the above answer. Public schools, private schools, charter schools, homeschooling, and kind of the common thread in all that is yes, allowing parents to have choice and more control over their kids' education.
What do you say to that, Otis?
Well, I mean, and I know what Ken is going to say about this, but let me get my preemptive strike in here first. Again, if it is so important, let's make it available in all 95 counties. There are some struggling schools and struggling students in Knoxville. There are struggling students in Chattanooga. There are certainly struggling schools and students in Jackson, probably Clarksville. So again, but the reason it was not passed for all of those counties is because the lawmakers didn't want money being taken away from their public schools locally, and that's why they agreed by one vote to pass it just for Shelby and Davidson County.
So here's the deal.
That's how I feel about it.
Here's the deal, Otis. The money is not for the schools. The money is for the children. The money should follow the students. You know, it's funny to me that people who make similar arguments have no problem with little black kids receiving money to go to CBHS or any other private school. They don't mind athletes taking that money to go to a private school. But when it comes to little Johnny, who doesn't have any athletic ability, or little Susie, who doesn't have any athletic ability, why shouldn't they be able to get the best education? Now, let me say this, because I know I'm going to have to finish. Listen, what is going to happen in Jackson and Knoxville and those other areas is this thing is going to work so well in Shelby County that the taxpayers in those other locales are going to be pushing their legislators to say, wait a minute, we need to be able to do that in our county, and they're going to catch up. But I'm telling you, Otis, this is a game changer. And as far as the response of the Shelby County school system, I don't know who wrote that response, but it certainly was not a smart attorney. You don't use that kind of language. You don't use those bells and whistles, those dog whistles, all caps for assault. No, what is an assault is the ability or the inability for poor children in Memphis and Shelby County to get a quality education. That's the assault. I cannot believe that they would use that kind of incendiary language.
I just believe that this will only create a cottage industry for other private schools to spring up, because $7,500 is not going to get you into St. Mary's, it's not going to get you into MUS, it's not going to get you into ECS, I don't believe. That is an issue that nobody is addressing here. And plus, the governor is already inviting in Hillsdale College to open a bunch of schools. I just think that this is fraught with problems. And with all due respect to my friend Ken Whalum here, I thoroughly disagree about how successful this is going to be. We'll just have to wait and see.
Well, Dr. Chatham, I know you support the idea of school vouchers. What about this notion that, yeah, the parents who are stuck in the situation and can't afford private schools will now be able to make that choice? But there are a lot of kids who have parents who aren't involved in their kids' education. And as time goes on, all public schools are going to have left are the problem kids that nobody wants.
Right.
Well, look, I think there's some legitimate concerns here, and to Otis's point about only applying to 2 counties. When I talk to people around town and my friends and even other Republicans, I mean, that is the concern. If it's good enough for 2 counties in the state, why not all 95? So I do think that's a bad look and has kind of set not well with folks. And as far as the kids leaving and the public schools being hurt, left behind, we talked a lot about, hey, we're taking money from public schools and moving them to private schools. But correct me if I'm wrong. I believe this program does provide money to replace the money that follows students who choose to go to private schools in the form of
for a period of time, yes, for I think like 3 years or something like that.
So for at least the first 3 years, there is a little bit of stability in planning and budgeting finances there. And it's a pilot program. So at the end of 3 years or 5 years, we'll look at the results. And if they're great, we can move forward. And if not, we'll have to make some other decisions. But for the time being, I am pleased that there are going to be families in Shelby County that have choices with their kids' education that many of us have had that they've not had up to this point.
If the pilot program is only 5,000 kids, Reverend Ken, how do we choose who those 5,000 kids are statewide in these 2 counties?
Well, you got to start where you are, use what you have, and do the best you can. I want to quibble, though, with the assumption that all that's going to be left is poor kids whose parents can't get them out. No. There are going to be a lot of really smart, really bright children and really committed and devoted parents left in the public schools. But now here's what's going to happen. Our superintendent makes $500,000 a year. We've got educators who make good money, who can teach well. Let them teach. take the responsibility, school board. You take the responsibility. Stop following the lead of your superintendent and make policies that will increase the graduation rate and the literacy rate of our children. Stop assuming that all of our children can't learn. They can learn, and this Supreme Court ruling is going to make it possible here in Shelby County.
Where do you think we are in 5 years from now, Otis?
I have no idea because I just still think that this is fraught with problems. And I do think that we are setting up two tiers here with education. And I think that the local school system here, Memphis Shelby County Schools, is going to be hurt by this. And I'm just not optimistic that 5 years from now, we are all going to be happily dancing around saying this was a great program.
And Ken, you disagree? You think we're going to be saying, bring it on, let's add thousands more to this program?
I think in 5 years we are. I think that we have to assume the best. I think that we have to really believe that the Tennessee Supreme Court saw some reason, some legal justification to provide this opportunity. And what I do know is the market. I do know the business market, and I know that the Shelby County schools better get their act together, because this is not the last of this kind of movement. Taxpayers are getting tired, Richard. They're getting tired of paying taxes and seeing no results in the education of their children. I'm telling you, this is not the end of it.
Well, we do know that 2 members of the Supreme Court did not agree with this, so it's not a slam dunk. That's all.
All right, Dr. Chatham, I'll let you have the final word on this. Where do you think things are 5 years from now?
I'm always hopeful things will be better, but just like in medicine, when you have an intervention, you've got to look at it at the end and see the proof. Is it working or is it not? And if it's not, you've got to make changes. And so hopeful, but we do have to follow up on it.
Okay, well, we're well over time on the segment, but I'm glad we let it breathe a little bit. When we come back, we're going to talk about the situation in Arlington, the boundary dispute going on there that seems to get more and more interesting by the day.